I'm Lonna Kelly, and this is Hudson Valley Art Speak. Thank you for tuning in today. Today I'm going to be talking to Ann Heywood, who is a potter and has just joined the Art East Open Studio Tour, and so she'll be showing her work in the Hudson Valley. Hi, Ann.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming today.
Yeah.
So it looks like I was reading your biography, and you've been interested in pottery really since you were a kid.
Since high school. My mother was an art teacher in a small college in the Midwest, and her colleague, Doug Hansen, agreed to teach a group of us high schoolers at that time. And I fell in love with it immediately. I didn't take it that seriously, but I knew that I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I continued it in college, informally, and then sort of off and on for a while, but then there really was almost a 20-year break while I was going to graduate school and working and having children.
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah,
Career. Yeah.
It was always in the back of my mind, and occasionally I would, think about it and even play with it a little bit. But it wasn't until we purchased a house upstate and my husband helped me set up a studio that I really started thinking about it more seriously. And I was a very frustrated weekend potter for several years, and then decided to retire early and just do pottery.
Yeah, good for you. It's funny because I've talked to several women artists whose lives kind of took that trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
They were interested in art and painting or pottery or
Right.
photography when they were a kid,
Yeah.
and then kind of put it aside for a number of years, but came back very strongly.
Yes, I mean the strength of it is still surprising me, I think, because I've never really thought of myself as particularly artistic or creative. That was always my mother and my brothers, but it's really wonderful, I think, to start taking it more seriously at this age. I have a lot less invested in some ways. I don't have to be successful, or I don't have to make money necessarily.
Yeah.
And I'm just more aware of how much I need it, and it's just been a wonderful thing to throw myself into it and kind of just feel it out and see what's going to happen, and kind of recognizing that, I do maybe have an artistic eye, and I do like this instead of that, and I do want to do this, and really it's sort of slowly developing, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
You said that you like to experiment with different types of clay.
I do. I fire in 3 different kilns. I have an electric kiln at home, which is a mid-range fire, and then I also fire in a wood kiln and a soda kiln at the Allison Palmer studio in Kent, Connecticut. So that's a higher fire, and completely different glazes and different clays. There's so many things places where you can take pottery, and there's so many different areas to experiment with, and I'm very fascinated by the glaze aspect, actually, and I've been following recipes and making my own glazes and tweaking them a little bit, and it was almost like a research project in some ways, of seeing what will this glaze do, and at this temperature, and what will it do with this oxide underneath it, and or on this texture. So it's the experimenting is for me it's a fun part of the whole experience.
So I'm looking at the pieces that are on the table, and each one is very different and very unique. And I'm just curious about this one and the finish on it. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So this is one of my favorite mugs. I still haven't made the perfect mug, but this one I really, really love. It's a glaze that's made out of ash from my fireplace and other chemicals, of course. And it has a very subtle texture on it that you really only see if it's up close. I call it my tweed mug. So it's the ash glaze on a very subtle texture. And I actually fired it twice. I don't know if that's partly why it developed such a sort of a depth and complexity to the surface.
Yeah. It's a very nice size and shape.
Yeah.
Looks like it would be perfect for a cup of
Yes.
very strong tea.
Well, it's interesting how, I reach for different mugs at different times of the day and for
Yeah.
different liquids, and
Uh-huh.
this is one of my favorites for the morning coffee, actually. And, but my husband won't touch it. It's not his style, or
Oh, really?
for drinking out of. He doesn't.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
prefers something else. It's
Yeah.
interesting to see how people react differently to different
It is.
shapes.
So, and this is very different from the one that we were just talking about. How was this achieved?
And this one I played with a mixture of wax and an iron oxide, which I put on the surface first, and then I dunked the whole thing into a white glaze. So the inside has the white, and on the outside the white is just peeking through the wax and the oxide. One of my favorite pots, unfortunately not one that I've been able to reproduce. It's just so many variables. How thick was the wax? How much oxide did I add? I didn't take good enough notes.
So you need to, now is this possible to make 2 at a time rather than just make
Oh yes,
one?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that more.
Yeah.
More. But in my experimental phase, sometimes I just make one and hope to reproduce it.
Yeah. Now, have you shown your work at many places?
No. Through Art East, I participated in the Pauling Farmers Market a few weekends ago, and I currently have 3 pieces at the front gallery, which is also a Art East
Front Street Gallery.
Front Street Gallery, an Art East event.
Yeah.
So that was really my first experience with thinking about display, and my husband built boxes for me, and then I will be participating in the tour, the Art East Studio Tour, Open Studio Tour.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
a lot
looking
of fun.
forward to
It's a little nerve-wracking when people come to your studio or to your house, but once it gets going, it's fun to talk to people. I mean, when do you get to talk about your artwork for all day?
All day. My only concern is that people won't be able to find me. I'm a little out of the way.
Yeah. Well, you're right in with the whole group of potters, though. I think
yes,
there's
I have
3 of you
really,
in close
really
proximity.
Nice group of a potter community there. Amy Brenner
Yeah.
and Drew Montgomery are right there. I took a class with Drew, and Amy invited me to Art East. And Allison is in Kent, and I do workshops at her studio. And so
it's funny. Your work is also different. If you think about Drew and Amy and yourself,
we are very, very different.
So different.
Right.
Yeah.
But not unexpectedly, when you think about
Yeah.
what you can do with pottery and all the different directions you can take it.
Yeah.
And just the options are.
Yeah. So you had a career as an art conservator.
Yes.
And how does that influence your work?
So I was an art conservator at the Met for 30 years before I retired, and I specialized in archeological materials, and particularly with Egyptian materials at the Met. So I had a lot of opportunities to handle really old things and look at a lot of art, not only Egyptian but across the board. And I was also able to travel a certain amount with my job, and so the last few years before I retired, I was able to go to Japan and Korea, and everywhere I went, I looked at pottery.
Yeah.
And, but I think with the archeological materials, I really love seeing signs of wear and sort of beauty and imperfection, and I think I try a little bit for that with my pottery. It's certainly my surfaces tend to be a little imperfect and complex.
Yeah. I love the color in this bowl.
Yes,
on the
it's
inside
like
of the bowl.
a
It's
robin's
absolutely
egg.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love this pot too. I was experimenting with a darker clay in high fire, and so when you change clays, you get different colors. So I wasn't sure what color I would get, but I love the this sort of robin's egg, dark robin's egg
yeah,
blue.
it's lovely. So is there a big difference between firing in a wood-burning kiln as opposed to an electric kiln?
There is. It's a different atmosphere. With an electric kiln, we call it an oxidation atmosphere. It's pretty clean. You have a better idea from beginning to end what you're going to get. In a wood kiln, you have a lot more things going on, called atmospheric firing, and you get a reduction atmosphere, which can change the colors of the metallic oxides, and you get more variation.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, on this piece, something was happening over here that didn't happen over here. So it's usually it's a wonderful thing. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But in general, I prefer the higher fire because everything really kind of comes together as one piece.
Yeah. And do you hand build the pieces, or do you use a wheel?
I do both.
Yeah.
This is hand built,
and
actually the texture comes from a rock outside of my backyard.
Oh, really?
Everything else here is thrown on the wheel. But these two pieces are from the high fire reduction in the wood kiln, and these are all from my electric kiln.
Yeah. And you prefer the wood more?
Well,
just for the surprise, or?
They're really different because I have so much more control over the electric, and I can do many more firings, so I really enjoy that. The wood firings come only once every few months. And, I'm not that familiar yet with the glazes, and I don't make my own glazes yet, but it's a very exciting and wonderful experience.
It's a long process, isn't it?
It's a very long process. We each take turns stoking the kiln with wood. I think we fire for 24 hours, and then it has to cool for many, many days.
Yeah. So you have to keep throughout that 24 hours. You have to keep putting wood in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you build up the temperature slowly.
Okay. Okay. But the electric, you just
turn it on. I can program it to do different things.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm using a program that cools it a little more slowly at certain temperatures, brings out some more crystals and more sort of depth. Yeah.
And I think you mentioned you like to do pieces that have fluting on them.
That's
like
something I'm experimenting with.
Cup?
Yeah, using different tools. It's a sort of simple decoration. I don't do a lot of embellishment or decorating, but I do like rich textures on simple shapes, and so I have been doing. It's true that these do all look different, don't they?
They do. They do.
But I like to think that there is some unifying.
I
like sort of simple lines and sort of rich surfaces.
Yeah. Well, that's probably what the thing is. And how do you get this kind of texture?
So
it's so
as
rough.
I said, it's actually I took slabs of clay and impressed it against a rock.
Oh, okay.
And did the same texture on all four sides.
Yeah, I see a tree.
It
reminds me of tree bark.
It does look like that, but it's from a rock, actually.
Yeah. Natural. So we're just about at the end of our time. So thanks so much for coming today, Anne. It was wonderful to get to know a little better and to hear about your work.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.